Hello, and welcome back to the Spicy Relationship Summit. I'm your host, relationship coach Mark Allen. I'd like you to meet Sasha Fassa, healer, sex educator, and the heart behind the Sacred Temple Arts. With 20 plus years of wellness, and 20 plus years in wellness and credentials, including advanced Tantra educator and erotic blueprint coach, she's all about helping you create the best sex and love life that you possibly can have. Welcome, Sasha.
Thank you, Mark. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. So let's dive right in. I think most people have heard of the love languages. I forget who invented
Gary
those.
Chapman.
Gary Chapman. There you go. Thank you. But erotic news blueprints might be new to some people. Can you help us understand what those are and how they're different from just knowing whether someone likes physical touch or words of affirmation?
Absolutely. Well, the renowned sexologist Jaiya came up with the erotic blueprints. I think based a bit on Gary's original model because she has five blueprints, just like there are five main love languages. And we look at what the primary and secondary ones are generally in a person and look at how that affects us and how we connect with our partners and what others that we're in relationship with have as their primary and secondary to create greater connection and intimacy and just overall radically better relating people. So the blueprints are if the love languages are how you want to be loved, how you feel most loved in receiving them. Well, the blueprints are how are you erotically wired? What creates arousal in your body compared to anyone else? And so the five are we start with energetic, sensual is the second. The third, now they're none of them, it's not hierarchical, right? So sensual, sexual, kinky, and the shapeshifter. And the shapeshifter is all of them, right? The idea, just like the love languages, is that we are imprinted from maybe pre-birth, childhood, right? And throughout our lives with this, we have an erotic wiring or specific love languages, but it can change according to life experiences, how we're programmed by society, education, traumas, right? Everything can be in the mix here, but in general, you'll find that you have a primary and secondary blueprint. To find out what your blueprints are, if you go to my website, sacredtemplearts.com, you'll see the erotic blueprint header and the quiz is right there that you can link to take, please. You want to do the full report, which is 30 pages long and $17, but well worth every penny of that because if you do the freebie and you're only going to get the algorithm giving you what the top blueprint could be. You may even have two that are the same, but it's going to just give you one, right? And you're not going to have the actual percentages, which you really want to have that free the paid blueprint, and then you want someone like me who'll do a free call for you to discuss more of what this means as well, and comparison with your partners too. So let's go back to, so we have these five erotic blueprints, right? Uh, the energetic, do you want to dive right into what
Yeah,
you,
let's do each one just so we can talk about them further.
yeah, great. So I like to play with them by also kind of showing a little bit. So, and because we're learning how to feed ourselves in the arousal that we need by learning our blueprints as well. So the energetic, and feel free, people that are watching, if you're in a comfortable space, you can play with some of the touches. If not, do it another time. But just to give you a sense, energetic blueprints like to play with energy, right? Or have a greater awareness of energy. And they're turned on by very light touch, like barely touching the hairs, or by just hovering touch, or by eye connection, right? Connection to the soul. by feeling energetically connected to others, to nature, to the earth, to themselves, to their bodies, right? It's all about arousal with energy. Yeah.
Okay.
Which brings a lot of space. Energetics need a lot of space in terms of how they relate to others and how they generally are in the world, right? Contraction can cause an energetic to short circuit in their orgasm. And they can even they could feel a little fried. They can have like, either too much energy or they're not feeling enough energy, or it goes different directions. And 1 minute, they're turned on, and the next it's completely dead. And that would be a short circuiting of the energy that happens there.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so we're doing a very big introduction in a short amount of time here. So I'm going to run through things quickly, but every blueprint has a shadow side as well, right? We live in polarity here on this planet. And so we have the positive sides and then we have the shadow side. So a shadow side of the energetic would be um, that short circuiting type of thing. They may be hierarchical in the sense of I used to be way more in the tantric energetic realms where I would think that kink and other types of blueprints were, not as great somehow because I was in the shadow of my blueprint, right? So they can be kind of hierarchical. They can think that sex has to be spiritual, or again, that connection, the energy. You don't have energetics generally out having a one night stand or like sex in a public bathroom or something, right? It's a very different kind of wiring that can create actually that they don't want to have sex at all, that it's more about just, connection and energy and play, and they don't need the physical as much, maybe, as a different blueprint. But that could also be a shadow too. So to feed an energetic, it's this light hovering touch, anticipation, tease, kind of a energy flirtation, ways to feed in their blueprint of this deep connection with the energy and to give them the space that they need while also creating more arousal with that. Yeah. Any
Wow.
questions?
I just sort of it sounds kind of woo is the
It
word
does.
that
It does.
comes up to me that it seems like that'd be a little bit hard to take as real.
Yes. I love that you say that. So, it's very hard for people to get it until you actually learn the blueprint in your and experience it in your body, especially for the energetics. So another way that people can learn about the blueprints is to watch the Netflix series of Jaiya's Sex, Love, and Goop. Well, she's featured on there, and the blueprints are pretty prominent, right? In that series, you see energetic orgasm in a couple places where first one of the clients suddenly goes into spontaneous eruption of energetic orgasms that he's never had before, and how shocking that is, and didn't think it was possible. And you also see Jaiya modeling energetic orgasms with her partner Ian, not even touching the body and just playing with the energy, right? So people can say it's woo woo, but I love it because I get clients that are, engineers and the least woo people, right? And they're like, that's not real, right? That is not possible. And then they're working in a program with me, and a couple months in, now they're spontaneously erupting in energetic orgasms. And it's so real. And they're writing testimonials and, describing to me how they can't even believe that this is how their bodies, run now, right? Everyone can have energetic orgasms. It's a learned experience, just like you can learn anything you want in all these blueprints, right? And
Okay.
my job personally that I love is that I love to custom design programs for all of my clients so that they can play in all the playgrounds instead of being in one narrow one. I'll just say another thing about the energetic blueprint. A lot of men, especially, and I get in my practice, right? They don't realize that they're not woo at all, right? And they are having either PE or DE, premature ejaculation or delayed ejaculation. majority of these men are just energetically wired and they don't realize it. So they're not functioning in the sexual blueprint. So it seems like something's wrong, but it's just that they're energetic and they need a different approach in terms of how they're touched sexually and aroused.
Yeah, and I think a lot of men are, where our bravado is that, we should be very sexual and just, pound one out or whatever sort of thing. And that
Yeah, sexual
sounds very,
blueprint.
yeah, that sounds very not that way.
Yes, exactly, right? Because it's the space and the different ways of touch and the energy moving. It's great because you actually see in Jaya's, again, in the Netflix series, the male that one of the clients, Damon, he takes the quiz, right? Your mind's taking the quiz. And it shows up he's high sexual, right? But then Jaya gets him on the table and he has all these energetic experiences when they're playing some of the erotic games that we teach as part of this work. And there's no context for it, right? Because he thought I'm high sexual, but he actually is internally wired with this energetic that was never brought to the surface because there was never that type of energetic play and touch, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, the more you play with it, it's like amazing how the body will awaken because we're all energy. So, playing with energy for arousal is just something that we haven't been traditionally exposed to in this culture. But it's not foreign to the ancients in any way. And so it's a learned skill, but sometimes people have it innately as a high energetic kind of being. So we can go on to the sensual. So the sensual is like if you have energy, energetic, right? Light touch. Sensual is like, right? Ooh, massage, all the right types of sensual touch. You can think the senses are turning you on. I'm eating a bite of my favorite food and having a foodgasm. I'm experiencing my favorite smell and it's turning me on, right? Sensual is like just the right touch, just the right temperature. They're very aesthetic, things need to look good, feel good. Very tactile in this way. You can think the shadows have to be like Goldilocks, right? It has to be just right. Just right. Or they don't short circuit like the energetic, but their orgasms become more elusive. Like, oh, I'm about to climax or come, or I'm having this arousal. Oh, and I see laundry on the floor. Or my partner has bad breath. Or something disrupts their or my feet are cold. Something sensually, or I don't, there's a playlist and all of a sudden they don't like the song that came on in the bedroom, right? Whatever it is, it disrupts their sensual like pleasure and immersion tends to make them so sensuals will be more energetics can be kind of disassociated out of the body, kind of floaty energy, and the sensuals are the monkey mind of when they're in the shadows, it's the I can't get into my body and feel my body and be happy and aroused because I'm worried about something or I'm projecting onto my partner something. It's the like, right? Oh, too many things to do. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
you you have to feed your sensuality. And if your partner's high sensual, feed them back into their sensualness through security, safety, comfort, and pleasing the senses kind of thing.
What's funny is like I when my wife and I have sex during the day and stuff, it's like she's like, why do you close the blind and stuff? Are you afraid somebody's seeing us? They're not gonna see us. And so I'm like, no, it's not that. I said it's just that we might wind up where I can look out and I don't want that additional information there and stuff. I want to block that so that
Perfect example.
we're just in our own sanctuary here. And don't have to worry about seeing the neighbor cutting the lawn across the street, across the way or anything.
Yeah, perfect example. You have to have the environment just right. There's bringing things home and in. Sometimes Jai talks about toggles, right? So for you, a toggle even is like closing the blinds. I'm getting ready for intimate time now. I'm taking that away of the outside world. A toggle for a sensual could be having a wonderful, delicious meal, or the foreplay of a massage, or taking a hot bath. It's like whatever helps you to get out of the mind work mode. I'm going to be intimate with my partner now. Well, that blueprint has a hard time going from this to that. Same with energetics, actually, which is why both of these blueprints we've talked about so far, it's about slow, right? Connected, slow foreplay, easing into things, creating the space or creating the sensual environment. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
So feed your partner and their senses, all the sensory things they like. Make sure the environment's aesthetically pleasing. And this is for your own body too, right? We're talking all of this for your own feeding and then feeding with the partner after that, right? Okay, sexual. Now, sensual also typically is this kind of like, oh, women are sensual and men are sexual, right? Romance and flowers of the sensual and the sexuals, man, like banging away, right? No, Jaya's brilliant system of this has created, the research that the blueprints are distributed equally amongst the population in different genders. It's not that there's women are specifically, there might be a little bit more of women that are more sensual and a little bit more of men sexual, but nothing that's profound, right? Not enough to be like, this is the general populace, right?
Yeah.
Of black and white that we've always learned. So it's great because especially for women that have high sexual, right? There could be a lot of slut shaming that you've had in your life for being high sexual because we'll dive in now. See the difference in my voice even changes from when I was like the energetic blueprint. And then we have the sensual blueprint. And now it's like sexual blueprint, right? Can I swear on this podcast? Or should...
Sure.
Okay. Let's fuck. Let's go. Let's do it now, right? The sexual is like tits, ass, grab them by the pussy, stroke the cock, jump on top of each other, throw your clothes off, no shame in it, 0 to 60 arousal, right? They like porn, they like the visuals of naked bodies, they like to get to it. A lot of times they're like, why would we need a coach? Fucking is fucking. You just do it. Why do we have to talk about anything even? Right? Why are we wasting time here? Let's just go, right? Wham bam, thank you, man. It's great. It's a whole, it's the positive side of the sexuals is like, let's just do it, right? Let's go and let's play.
Yeah.
The side of so what would be, oh, well, the shadow side, you're missing the journey because you're already about the end point, which is get off, get in, get off, right? If you go to sleep afterwards or keep going and, right? Sexual is a lot of stamina. That's good, right? So they're missing the journey. They might be just too focused on climax or orgasms. And so, they can even get pissed off if like a high sexual, it's nothing wrong with this, right? A high sexual needs a lot of sex frequently, right? Whatever that means to them of frequency. So if you're in a relationship and you're like, oh, I'm shutting the door for some reason, or like, I'm not really wanting to have a lot of sex right now. Well, if your partner's high sexual, they're starving. They're starving in their blueprint, right? They need frequent sex. So to know that and to provide it. And they like intercourse, oral, everything to do pretty much with different, just basic sex. Let's go. Let's do it. So again, that's kind of just like how the mainstream is it's the cultural norm of how people are wired, but yet that's a fallacy, actually, right? Okay. Kinky blueprint? The kinky. Yeah. So, kinky, all different types, right? Hair pulling, scratching, slapping, spanking. There's psychological kink. There's also sensation play kink. Kink is like the largest, all of these blueprints have like infinite expressions, in my opinion. You can go so deep in every way into all of them. But the kinky just is the kinksters tend to be, or people with high kinky blueprint that are in the positive side, have the most incredible creative abilities and vocabulary around sex. They also tend to have higher IQs around boundaries, consent, education in general, because, if they're not doing that, well, the shadow side of the kink is you can really get yourself in trouble, danger. You can hurt yourself or your partner if you are not well educated in this blueprint, right? You don't just go, well, honey, let's try some kink tonight. I'll grab some rope and tie you up, right? No, maybe get some like, soft cuffs that from a sex toy store that you can play with. But no, if you're gonna learn rope, you're gonna hire a professional and get real education, right? On playing with rope. So shadow side of kinky is this putting oneself in danger, because kinky is all about whatever's taboo, playing with pushing the edges of things, right? Whether that's psychological or physical. Some like both, some fall into one or the other. Kinky has typically had a bad rap, but it's become more mainstream from the 50 Shades of Grey,
Yeah.
right? Which was not a good example for anybody out there. It's garbage, but it did give some more play to a little bit more of kink being accessible as a blueprint to people. Um, so also fetishes, right? So if you have a fetish that you only like having sex in a yellow, in a raincoat, yellow raincoat, rubber raincoat, well, who's is your partner going to want that for the rest of your lives? Is the only way you have sex? So that can be a shadow side, is too far into the fetish. But to feed a kinky blueprint, then their needs, right, would be the right education, pushing different taboos and boundaries in different ways that are meeting their edges, right, and feeding them psychologically or sensation play. Um, and a lot of times because the kinkies had a lot of shame, a lot often because it's been so out of the mainstream as a normal way that people are erotically wired, that it helps to really help them to get out of that shame place if there's anything there, right? Any questions so far?
I
We
mean,
good?
what do you, so I mean, is non-monogamy kinky?
Only if it is to you, right?
Okay.
Yeah, to the mainstream society, that might be, but it wasn't in other cultures. It's not in some other cultures, right? So it's kind of like if it's to you, yes. But do I find non-monogamy kinky? Not at all, right? I think it's normal I think it's just another choice on
Yeah.
the menu of relationships. And my job is create your best sex and love life. Well, that's not to tell you what it should be. That's what's your best sex and love life. How many partners does that look like to you? Whereas somebody else is like, no, we like monogamy. Great. Whatever you choose is wonderful, as long as that's your choice, right? And you're a sovereign being, then not hurting anybody, obviously. It's consensual. Great, by all means. Yeah. But I would say, a normal, vanilla, maybe mainstream person might go non-monogamy is kinky, but you know that if you're in that community, there's plenty of non-monogamy people that aren't kinky at all.
Yeah.
They're right. They're
Yeah.
even vanilla. You can be non-monogamous and totally vanilla.
Yeah. True.
You can have multiple very traditional looking relationships. Right? So many ways of all of this. Yeah. Yeah.
But
So go ahead.
the fifth one I think is the shapeshifter. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Shapeshifter. That is basically the combination of all of the blueprints. It's the erotic connoisseur. It's the being that can play in all of these. So they have kind of equal percentages of energy, or at least close, energetic, sensual, sexual, kinky. Shapeshifters are um, often considered to be too much because they want it all and more now, right?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
All and more now, and then even more. And so the shadow side of the shapeshifter is that they will contort into others' blueprints, their partner's blueprints, instead of actually getting to own all of their sexuality. They can go into real depression, and there's even another type of blueprint almost of the shapeshifter shadow that Jaiya talks about, that can be like, and I've had a lot of clients that have come to me extremely depressed on medication, so forth, and they realize they're a shapeshifter, and that they're erotically, when they awaken themselves back to their true erotic nature and have the permission to get as alive as they want, right? Then they come back to life and there's a whole new world, right? And everything's different. And this was my path. When I found Jaiya's work, I went into it very, very empowered through Tantra and so forth, but I had been very shamed through my relationships. Even as a child, you're too much, Sasha. You're way too much, right? You need to tone it down, right? You need to get in some box, any box, choose something, right? It was always too much. Partners, you're insatiable. The shapeshifter is often called insatiable. You may be called a nymphomaniac, right? Because for wanting all and more. It's very intense to have and be in a world where you're supposed to fit into these certain boxes. And if you're a shapeshifter and you fit into all of them and want all and more all the time and are voraciously hungry for it all, right? Yeah, it's outside of our programming. And it's somehow impolite, I think, or something. Yeah. And
Wow.
so the shapeshifter really has to be able to be empowered into the recognition that it's a superpower. All of these movements, they're superpowers, not a curse. And most shapeshifters feel like it's a curse most of their life until they realize, oh no, this is who I am, right?
Yeah.
Now, Jaya's theory is that we're all kind of born shapeshifters, that we're innately inside our core selves are shapeshifters, but we've been imprinted by experiences and by society, right? And programming and so forth into certain boxes of the blueprints. So I love to work with clients to really help them get into their shapeshifter selves and to emerge as the erotic connoisseur that can play in all the boxes however they please, right? Whatever is right for them that way.
All right, let me ask you the quintessential question here. So let's say a
Yeah,
couple discovers they have totally different erotic blueprints. Maybe
yeah.
one person is really kinky and the other is sensual. How do they bridge that gap without anyone feeling like they have to fake it or compromise who they are?
Great question. As Jaya says, there's no sexual incompatibility. It's just learning a different language. So if you were in love with somebody who spoke a different language as their primary language, would you just be like, nah, can't do this. I can't learn French. Right?
Google Translate all the time.
There you go. So yeah, instead of using Google, you hire a translator like myself, right? To come in. And with all of my programs, I give Jaya's lifetime membership for her program that includes all of the blueprint stuff on the deepest level, right? And all of this, people can find all this information at my website, sacredtemplearts.com. But basically, it's how do you learn the other's language, right? Are you willing to even learn their language? And can you play in the others, right? So if we took even like sensual kinky, well, there's actually blueprints of sensual kink, right? So I would find things, first I would teach both parties, right? Educate deeply on their actual blueprints, right? And to each other about their different blueprints. The
Okay.
shadows, where are you in the shadows? Where are you in the positive side? And create them being very empowered in those, right? And then to bridge it, well, let's find some activities that are sensual kinky that you both want to do, right? Let's create sensual kink as your new way to play. Yeah. And if they wanted to, then I would even say actually go further into the blueprint. So the person that's sensual should actually learn some kink, right?
Yeah.
Full kink step. And the one who's in the kinky should start to learn how to feed a sensual, right? And to play with all the sensual things that that person needs for their arousal. And then I would encourage them both eventually to go even farther so that they can expand beyond their two boxes into experience of the other blueprints to be a whole human sexual expression on this planet, right?
Wow, that sounds like quite the adventure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of couples assume that they know what their partner wants sexually, especially after years together. How do erotic blueprints help us discover things that we might have missed about each other?
Mhm. Ongoing, they will, because it's an endless exploration into each of the blueprints of what's possible there. So there's always something new to learn, right? Whether it's energetic orgasms or how to have a foodgasm or how to have any of the 20 types of more sexual types of orgasms, how to play in the way kinky. What would be fun, for clients that I have that are like, oh, we don't know about kink, right? Or we don't like, well, what if you guys just designed a scene that you might want to do to role play and play with something kinky, right? And let's like create something that does feel good and safe and interesting to you. It's just endless what can be expanded upon, right? And the blueprints will shift a lot of times in different sexuality stages, which Jaiya teaches. So I teach that through Jaiya too. We won't get in that today. Different life changes and so forth. So, you might, even though I'm a shapeshifter, for example, and when I met my partner, he's a shapeshifter. But suddenly we realize because there's a lot of a dance of polarity that happens a lot where you're like different love languages, different blueprints. Even though we're both shapeshifters, turns out these days he's high sensual kink, I'm high sexual energetic, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's great. I love it because in the past I would have been like, fuck, right? Now I love this. Oh, good. This puts me to the test, right? This puts me to the test. So when I'm in like high sexual and we have a long distance relationship and he shows up and I just want to jump on top of him and start riding him immediately, right? But no, sensuals, I didn't say this before, but sensuals need to relax to have sex. Sexuals need to have sex to relax. So I want to jump his bones and get it on so I can go to sleep and relax afterwards. He needs to get rest and get in the mood and relax before he can have sex with me.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. So working out dynamics like that. Or like I'm all about the energetic and the tantra, right? High energetic tantra. And I do love kinky, but he and I happen to have what would seem like almost opposite kinks, right? But you know, it's great because if you're a shapeshifter, I'm willing and he's willing, right? And even if you just love your partner enough and you want to stay with them, then have the willingness, whether it's feeding them in their love languages or learning their cake, right?
Yeah,
And you know what? If it's an absolute no, a hard no for you, well, then what if your partner could get that need met somewhere else? And it doesn't mean that they're having sex with other people or other partners. It could. It could mean that they're going to a professional educator of some type in that blueprint, right? And getting that blueprint fed in some way. Classes, workshops, one-on-one work, whatever it is.
yeah,
But we don't want to starve our partners. That's where the
yeah.
big problem comes in. If we're starving and not able to feed ourselves, that's also a constant problem. I believe we have to feed ourselves first, right? Because our body is our primary relationship, not our partner. But if we're obviously in a relationship, we want to be able to feed back and forth and feel fed and loved. And so, yeah, we got to be willing, right?
Wow, this has just been a great conversation, Fasa. I'm sorry, Sasha. I
Okay.
really appreciate what you shared about the blueprints and stuff. We talked beforehand that I have some experience in them too, and have found them very valuable. And I think this is a great little primer to get people started on them. I know you have a free gift for the audience. Can you share what that is?
Yes, I have the cheat sheet for the blueprints to share and also a little discovery call for you that goes along with that. So I'll be send that link will be available. And I also have for VIP members, I'm going to give the gift of a free Sacred Temple Arts taster, which is an hour-long call. You can do it virtual or by phone with me, value of $225.
Excellent. And attendees can find those on the dashboard. Uh, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Is there any last thing you'd like to share with anybody?
Just to visit my website, sacredtemplearts.com. There's so much available there, and I do offer a complimentary call you can sign up for right on the website so that I can custom design a program for you and get you to be experiencing your best sex and love life, whatever that looks like. And again, in any program you do with me, you're going to get access as well to Jaiya's 2K program. That's lifetime access to the blueprint stuff, essentially.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mark.